Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by it'seasy.com passport and visa services.
Hello, guys. Happy Thursday. Happy February Thursday for the global travel update. Hope you're okay wherever you happen to be. We're coming today from New York. Lots of things to talk about. Of course, you know how to get your messages to me by streaming them in. But first and foremost, let's update the news. Ice storms this week, as you know, thousands of flight delays and cancellations. Not surprising considering where the ice storms were in places that don't often get snow and ice. I mean, Austin, Texas, Dallas. With all due respect to the Dallas airport, they're not known for their snow removal. And the same thing applies to Austin, especially when it comes to ice. And when you shut down a hub like Dallas or slow it down, you slow down the country. So for every 12 hours that you're down, it's about 36 hours to get back. So it's reasonable to assume the schedules might resume by Saturday. This is not a Southwest Airlines system meltdown. It's not an FAA ground stop meltdown. It's just weather. A big shout out, though, to the folks who run the Salt Lake City airport. They've got the best record of any airport in the world, I think, for operating in snow. I don't think they've ever closed the airport more than maybe one day a year. I mean, they're just remarkable. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. All right. Another thing that happened this week, the end of an era. The last 747 was delivered. It came off the assembly line a couple of months ago, but then was finally delivered to the airline. In this situation, it was a cargo carrier, Atlas, but it marks the end of an era. More than 1,574 747s produced since 1969. Of course, the original launch customer was Pan Am. A piece of trivia for you: that first plane was christened by none other than Pat Nixon, the wife of President Richard Nixon. One of my favorite airplanes ever built. I think many of you may share that emotion. I mean, when you got on a 747, you knew you had arrived. And how many people just still fantasize about that spiral staircase going up to the upper deck? Some of us never made it up there, but some of us did. Anyway, you can still fly the 747. They're still being operated, not by any U.S. airline. Both Delta and United retired theirs a number of years ago, but a number of airlines still fly them. British Airways retired their entire fleet. So did Virgin. But Lufthansa is still flying them to the U.S., and so is Qantas. So you can still fly those planes. Same thing for the A380, no longer being made, but still being operated. Of course, the prominent carrier is Emirates. They've got about 140 of them, and they're operating all over the world. And they're starting to return them to flight service in the U.S. Some of them are actually bringing them back into service after mothballing them because Boeing has been so late and delayed in production of their 777 plane. And so their delay in deliveries means the A380 lives a little longer. And for those of you who have the opportunity to fly it, you know it's a pretty cool plane, even though it's a white elephant in terms of making anybody any money. Now, speaking of flying, get ready for some transatlantic wars. It's already started. United Airlines last year in 2022 became the largest transatlantic carrier in the world, more than Delta and American and British Airways combined. They were flying last year to 37 different destinations overseas from the U.S., their gateway cities, Newark, Washington, Dulles, Chicago, and L.A. This year, they've added another 7 places like Malaga and places like Stockholm and places like even Dubai. They have a partnership now with Emirates as well. And they're going to continue to service places that they went to last year, secondary and tertiary cities in Europe, Dubrovnik, the Azores, the Canary Islands, and many, many more. So what is that doing? Well, Delta Airlines now is going to devote 10% more of their flights over the Atlantic. We have new carriers coming in. We're talking about airlines like Play. Most of you have never heard of Play. You may have heard of WOW a couple of years ago. That was an Icelandic carrier that went under. Play is now basically trying to copy them. And of course, for those of us old enough to remember how we used to go to Europe when we were in college, we always went through Reykjavik, flying on the old Icelandic airplanes, which in those days, okay, here's how old I am, folks. They were constellations. But now you can do Play or Iceland Air to get to Europe if you don't mind stopping in Reykjavik. And who minds stopping in Reykjavik if you've been to Iceland? It's great. Another carrier, Norse. They replaced the old Norwegian airline, and they're coming in. So you've got so much competition now, so much excess capacity that it means only one thing: a so-called buyer's market in the short term for anybody wanting to go to Europe or anywhere in the Middle East. Remember, United Airlines is even flying now from Washington to Amman, Jordan. And this will happen at least through May 15th. We're already seeing some pop-up sales from some of their competitors like Aer Lingus and TAP, the airline of Portugal. We've seen some round-trip fares as low as $398. You can't go from New York to Cleveland for $398 round trip. So check it out. It's going to be happening. And you know, something to hold on to if you can book it now. You'll see some of those pop-up sales happen. Jump on them, because in many cases the flights are good either through May 15th or with a couple of blackout dates, even through the rest of this year. All right, moving along. A little known trivia fact I'm going to share with you. You guys know Las Vegas Airport used to be called McCarran. Now it's called Harry Reid. Somebody did the numbers. You know, if you're at that airport and your flight is delayed or you get there early, you might be tempted to play the slot machines, right? Well, people do. And in the 36 years they've had them there, they've now generated, fasten your seatbelt, $1 billion in revenue. None of it coming to me, and very little of it, I suppose, coming to you as well. But just thought I'd share that with you. And then the stupid story of the week, I got to tell you, it's what happened at the Tel Aviv airport, the Ben Gurion airport in Israel, when a couple showed up from Belgium with their young kid who was 2 years old. They just wanted the kid to sit in their lap. Of course, we all know that any kid over the age of 2 has to have a seat. When the parents flew there, the kid was under 2. They refused to buy the seat. So they did what any responsible parent did. They left the kid at the check-in counter and boarded the plane. They left the kid. As you can imagine, they were arrested. So what are you going to do? All right. Let's go to the boards and say hello to everybody here. Let me scroll up and scroll down. And then I'm going to get to the question I asked you earlier in the week. What's your best prescription for avoiding jet lag? And boy, we had all over the map ideas coming in. None of them wrong, because if it worked for you, it worked for you. Some of them wild, and some of them, well, we'll get to them. Here we go. All right. Camilla's saying hi from Tucson. Paul's saying first snow of winter in Ashland, Virginia. All right. Evelyn's saying hello. Sue's saying hello from Bellington, Washington. Oh, 51 degrees today. I thought it was your birthday. You said 51 today. No, it's not happy birthday. It's 51 degrees. Jeff is saying hello from Santa Monica. We're traveling to Barcelona next month. Any hidden gem restaurant to recommend? I do. If you email me to peter@petergreenberg.com, I will get back to you with that. Leslie saying traveling to London in August, first timer. What neighborhood do you recommend? We want to be near a tube station. Well, you're always going to be near a tube station in London. I have to warn you, the tube tends to be a lot more expensive than the New York City subway, and they have the longest escalators, which is pretty cool. It's not about the neighborhoods in London. It's about what you want to see, because the neighborhoods, it's like New York. Everybody wants to stay in Midtown. Forget Midtown. Stay in Brooklyn, the subway. You'll save a lot of money. So look at it that way, and then take the tube, and you can get an Oyster card and save money on that for multiple trips. All right. But without knowing what you want to do, I can't answer your question. All right. Greetings from Ventura, says Lindy. Suki says hi in Argentina. All right. Lena saying greetings from Orange, California. Just got back from Porto. You took my advice. Love the salmon tataki at 1756. You know what? Did you have more than one order? I always do. It's unbelievable. I'm glad you did it. Sue says, when should I get airfare for Dubai and returning from the Maldives? Well, you know, it's interesting. You haven't told me when you want to go first. Tell me that, and I'll try to answer that. Hello to Gail. Says, we're going to get jet lag answers in a second, but Gail says, I handle jet lag by setting any time device I have to the time zone I'll be arriving at. Now, you see, that may work for you, Gail. I do exactly the opposite. I never take my watch off of New York time. And I'll explain that a little bit later. Sue says, I'm now going the end of November and returning December 9th. Well, guess who's now flying to Dubai? It's part of their new, their new initiatives, United. They're probably going to have some pretty low introductory fares, so check them out. Okay, Leslie's saying hi from warm and sunny Singer Island. We love that. David's in Massachusetts. Mary Jo is saying hello from Pennsylvania. I need to fly from Madrid to Lisbon this summer, and Air Europa seems to have the best flight times for my schedule. What can you tell me about them? Well, hold on a second. I've got a 5-letter word as a substitute for you. Train. Why wouldn't you take the train? Think about it. It's a great overnight train, and it works. Now, if you want Air Europa, they're a low-fare carrier. It's a coach. You'll get there. It's not a long flight, but when I'm traveling within Europe on short distances, I always check out the train. Not to mention the Eurail Pass, if you're going anywhere else, then it really becomes economically viable. One more note about the Eurail Pass. Remember, if you're going to buy one, and they come in different increments from 1 week to 3 months, if you're going to buy one, you've got to do it in conjunction with your round trip ticket from the U.S. before you leave the U.S., okay? Just letting you know. Okay. There we go. Joan saying hi from California. Patty's saying hello from Kentucky. All right. Tanzania is weighing in. Peter John, hello, sir. Paul says, I've always wanted to visit Russia, but the Ukrainian war threw cold water on that. Am I being foolish? Thoughts on this? I feel many Russians have anti-Western mindsets these days. You know what? You have 2 thoughts there. Let me go with each one individually. Number 1, travel to Russia is certainly being warned against by the U.S. State Department. Americans could be targeted just in a tit-for-tat situation based on what's going on in Ukraine. You just have to take that into consideration. But your second line is, I feel that many Russians have anti-Western mindsets these days. You know what? I've been to Russia for 40 years now. I've never felt that at all. They aspire to be Western. Now, you're going to have some hardliners anywhere you go, like we do in this country. But right now, you have to put things into perspective as to what you really want to do when you get there, and is your safety protected? And right now, State Department is at least advising you to reconsider travel there. And I might say at this point, given the situation in Ukraine, I would concur. Okay, Wendy's saying hi from New Jersey. Any suggestions for restaurants in Lyon? Colleen wants to know. Well, you know who came from Lyon? Paul Bocuse, and his restaurant is still there, and every minute is worth it. I'm telling you, you got to go. Patrick is saying greetings from dry land. He's finally off the ship. Patty says Sunday the best day to buy domestic tickets, or another day. It's now Sunday at about 6 o'clock at night, and the reason for that is whatever business travel has been booked by 6 p.m. on Sunday. That's when the airlines see what other seats they have, and they adjust fares accordingly if they're going to adjust them at all. Used to be Tuesday night at midnight. Those days are over. Okay. Lindy says, I'm heading to Solvang and Santa Ynez Valley. It's a sideways tour, so you already know what you have to do. Avoid the Merlot. Okay. Thank you, Wendy, for your note about my speech at the New York City Travel Show at the Javits Center last weekend with Bill McGee. And I'm glad you enjoyed what we had to say. For those of you who didn't catch that, but you may be in the Washington, D.C. area this weekend, I'll be speaking at the Washington Convention Center at the Travel and Adventure Show on both Saturday and Sunday. Future shows will be in Denver on the 25th, 6th of February, Los Angeles the week before on February 18th and 19th, followed by Atlanta and Dallas. I'll have more information about those later, but I hope you'll get a chance to see me this weekend in Washington, D.C. We have a lot to talk about. Mark Wexler is saying, I'm sorry I can't divulge my exact location for security reasons. If you know Mark Wexler, you don't want to know his location. You just don't. Mark lives in I know your location. It's on the delusional planet. But by the way, and all kidding aside, one of the great photographers of the world, Mark Wexler, who is campaigning now for Hermit of the Year, and he might actually win the award. Okay. Adrian Parks is saying, good morning. Jamie's saying, best day to book U.S. to Europe flights. That's different. It's based on individual country and the competition on those routes to that individual country. I can't give you a single day. Okay. David saying, summer in Lisbon and Porto. We want to stop in Sintra and Fatima. bus, train, or car rental. Well, you know what? If you've got the time, rent the car. It's a great way to do it. In some cases, you just hug the coast or go inland, but that gives you more options once you get there. That's just, my advice. Okay, let's go back up. I missed a few people here. All right, Jim and Harriet are saying hi from Delray Beach. Of course they are. Let me go first to a couple of other things here. I mentioned about the slot machines and the baby at the airport, but I also want to get to, we've talked about the fallout from the Southwest debacle. You know it. You've experienced it. And I came across something the other day it just made me laugh. It goes back 32 years. Why I kept this, I have no idea. I just thought it was somewhat poetic to show you when I had to apply for a refund from Southwest Airlines. And there it is. The old paper ticket. It was an application for a refund dated the 15th of November, 1990. 33 years ago, almost. Actually, yeah. And it was for a whopping, you ready? $49. Did I get the refund? I did. Took 6 weeks. That's what it took in those days. It was all paper transactions. Now, hopefully, they're much faster, especially in wake of the debacle in December. I just thought I'd share that with you. All right, now let's go to the question I asked you earlier this week. How do you avoid jet lag? What are your tips for avoiding jet lag? And so many of you had different answers all over the map. So let me go through some of them here. Mike says adopt destination time 12 hours before departure. And by the way, I may disagree with some of this, but if it works for you, you go for it. I never adopt the destination time. I always keep my watch on New York time. I need to know what people here are thinking. But when I get to my destination, I'll tell you what I do. Hold on, let's go read some more of these answers. Scott says flying west to east, for example, Toronto to the UK, I set my watch at local time of my destination. Lay off the booze, drink water, don't eat until I wake up an hour or two before landing, sleeping as well as possible. Well, you know what? I get that. Let's talk about alcohol. When I fly, the best way to avoid jet lag, no alcohol. You combine alcohol with attitude, it changes. You combine altitude with altitude. I'll do that again. When you combine alcohol with altitude, it changes your attitude. And you know what? It dehydrates you. This is not what you want to do. What Scott is suggesting is right. Hydrate early and often. Here's what else I do. If I feel like sleeping on the plane, I sleep on the plane. If I feel like working on the plane or watching a movie, I do. If I feel like eating on the plane, which is unusual, at least if it's the airline food, I'll do that too. But the key is not what you do on the plane, other than no alcohol. I cheat. I'll have either a club soda or a ginger ale carbonated beverage. But it's what you do when you land, at least in my case. Now, no matter what time you land, no matter where you go, my key is stay up until midnight local time. That means no heavy lunch, no afternoon nap. If you take an afternoon nap, at least in my book, no one will see you, including you, for 3 days. Just thought I'd mention that. And do whatever you can to stay up until midnight. If that means take a long walk, go shoot hoops, anything you can. And then you'll cycle. Now, in my case, it's just me. Remember, I'm only telling you what works for me. I sleep about 4 hours a night anyway. So if I stay up until midnight or 1 o'clock, I'm back up at 5 in the morning, but I'm good to go. So, but I know that a lot of you want to set your time at local time. To me, that's confusing, but if it works for you, great. Okay, Rose says, as soon as I'm able to obtain my hotel room, I set an alarm for a 90-minute power nap. That way I can go to sleep at a decent hour. Well, if I set my alarm for a 90-minute nap, I would ignore the alarm and wake up 3 days later. That's the point that works for me. But if it works for you, Rose, you go get them. Mary says, I love this one from Mary. First night, 3 melatonin. Second night, 2 melatonin. And the third night, 1 melatonin. I don't take any medication. And for those of you who've taken Ambien, how many people have seen people do some bizarre, really bizarre things on flights, especially if the plane is suddenly delayed and you're on the ground and you've already taken the pill? But again, I mean, Mary, if it works for you, great, but not for me. Debbie says, on a long overseas flight, I put in earplugs, put on an eye mask, and try and sleep. I can't sleep on a plane, so I rest as much as I can. Okay. I find the key is to keep very hydrated. Here we go again. Water, water, plus more water. And by the way, you want bottled water, not the water they're serving in plastic cups on the tray. If it comes from the holding tanks, the bacteria count is unacceptable. The best thing you can ever do is to watch the flight attendant crack open that plastic bottle of distilled water and then pour it as you're watching it. All right. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Linnea says, I just power through until it's time to sleep. Okay. If that works for you. Patricia Schultz. We know Patricia, right? The author of 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. She responded as well. I'm a big fan of extra strength NyQuil. When I see Patricia, I'll ask about her medication. Okay. Red says coffee and walking if I need to stay awake, eating heavy and warm milk if I need to sleep. Well, if you eat airline food, it's reheated anyway, and it's coated with those extra thick sauces in a vain attempt to maintain moisture. So it'll put you to sleep. Gwen says, I adjusted jet lag terribly. My hubby and I handle it differently. My husband needs his CPAP, but can't on many flights without doctor's information. My issue is getting comfortable. I used to think traveling at night would give me an extra entire day to enjoy the destination. Wrong. See, now I'm just the opposite. I hit the ground running. Then I go to bed at midnight. But here's another thing. If you're going to, let's say, Europe and you're taking a night flight, the plane lands at 6:30 in the morning. Your room's not going to be ready. So here's what you can do. Get a day pass from the hotel to go to their spa. No, you don't have to book an expensive treatment. Just go take a steam or a cold plunge or just, do it there and then get out and walk around. Okay. Here's one from Barbara. Arrive at destination late in the day, early evening. It's the only way I can immediately get on track. That works for you, Barbara? Great. Okay. Dick says, shortly after checking into the hotel, go outside, take a walk, acclimate to the surroundings, and never keep a watch that shows what time it is at home. That's exactly what I don't do. But if it works for you, good. I'm assuming everybody who's writing in, this stuff works for you. Okay, here's one from Dr. Amy. My rule of thumb has always worked for me. If I arrive before 3 p.m., take a nap for no longer than 3 hours. If arriving after 3 p.m., tough it out to as close to a regular bedtime as possible. Sort of a modified version of me, except no nap. All right. Wow, lots of stuff here. We really appreciate all of your responses, and thank you for doing that. And now, let's see if let me go scroll up here so I didn't miss anybody. Hold on. Okay. Ellen says, I try to arrive around dinner time, take a few minutes to unpack, have dinner, shower, and go to bed between 10 p.m. and midnight. Very civilized. Joy Daniel says, when is the best time of the year for cruise deals? Right now. Right now. I talked about this last week. It's still going on. I've seen 7-night cruises for sale right now as low as $449. You can't even wake up for that in any city in the United States. That's less than $70 a day. And that on the ship, it's including your 3 meals. So check it out. But remember, it's not just the base fare that's being quoted. You need to have a conversation with the person selling you the trip, otherwise known as a travel advisor or a travel agent. Find out, what about the internet? Do they have packages or is it free? On some cruise ships, it's free. What about shore excursions? Again, on some ships, it's free. What about onboard credits to entice you to book in the first place? What about drinks packages? Good luck. But the point is, the base fare is still the base fare, and you have to watch out for the ka-chings, but still quoting a 7-night cruise at $449 is amazing. Now, are you getting the cabin with a balcony? You are not. You're probably going to get an inside middle cabin. By the way, one of my favorite cabins on a ship. You think I'm nuts? We've all been marketed into thinking we're going to be entertaining the entire state of Rhode Island in our cabin. We're not. Most of us spend only an amount of time to sleep and shower in our cabin. We're really not in there a lot. We're out walking around, going to all the different events and activities on the ship, or we're on shore during the day. So Why do I like an inside middle cabin? First of all, it's less expensive. Second of all, I still get to enjoy everything that everybody else is enjoying on the ship, except if I'm on the QM2 and they have a two-class system, but that's the only ship in the world that does. And then the one thing people forget, it's called center of gravity. The pitch and roll in an inside middle cabin is minimal compared to an upper deck balcony where you are whipping around. I mean, if this is the ship and you're in the upper deck balcony and this is the inside middle cabin, watch. This is where you want to be. All right, let's keep going here. It says a set clock to the destination, hydrate, no alcohol. There you go. On arrival, get on their clock. Okay, that's my issue, but go ahead. Stay up, no naps. I'm right there with you, Camilla. Eat meals appropriate to the time of day. Okay, so good. I like that. Okay, Ellen says, where does one find a travel agent or a travel advisor? Well, believe it or not, they're back big time. They proved their worth during the pandemic when they really served as our advocates, getting no money in the process, in many cases losing money, to try to help people get their credits, their refunds, and their trips rebooked. We live in a world of specialization, Ellen, so there's no one answer to your question because there's a travel agent that specializes in cruise travel, a travel agent that specializes in bicycle travel, a travel agent that specializes in mountain climbing travel. They're almost quasi tour operators. There are a number of different consortia that I like. One is called Virtuoso. There's also Signature and many other travel leaders. They all have websites and they can direct you to their members who are specialists either in the area you're visiting or in your interest of affinity, right? And and by the way, I use about 6 or 7 different travel advisors based on their areas of expertise, right? You don't see a podiatrist if your arm hurts you. So therefore, get 6 or 7, one who specializes in everything you might want to do, because in many cases, they have what we call preferred supplier relationships. And even when a hotel says they're sold out, they're not. They're holding back rooms for their favorite travel advisors. And if you're their favorite client, guess what? You get the room you want. All right. Another hello from Tanzania. Okay. So, another Naomi is saying hello from Arusha. Okay. Joan says in Barcelona, we slept 26 hours and then argued about what time it was. Okay. So I have no suggestions. P.S. We had no alcohol. Need suggestions. Okay. I will, Joan, if you're looking for suggestions in Barcelona, email me to peter@petergreenberg.com. If you're looking for suggestions about jet lag in Barcelona, I think you've already made your case. But let me know. All right. Gail says, speaking of the Southwest Airlines mess, they issued us a voucher for a future flight at first. We just received the notice that they suddenly issued us a full refund. I didn't ask for a full refund at first. We were okay with the voucher. Don't know why they decided to give us the money back, but we'll take it. I know exactly why they decided to give you the money back. Because they were going to get busted by the DOT if they didn't. Remember, if an airline, let's go back to the rules here. If an airline cancels your flight, if they do it for any reason whatsoever, then you're entitled to a full and immediate refund back to your original form of payment, even if you bought a so-called non-refundable ticket. Now, during the pandemic, not every airline was forthcoming in volunteering that rule or obeying it. A lot of airlines paid a stiff price for that later on with DOT fines. Now, because the focus is entirely on Southwest because of the Christmas holiday meltdown, they're not going to play around with vouchers or future credits. They're writing the checks, as they should, right? Otherwise, you've given them an interest-free loan and you were disenfranchised. Who wants that? Okay? Just telling you. Okay, Melanie says we need a rental car in Philadelphia 4th to 9th, and rates are a whopping $100 plus per day for an economy car. Any suggestions on saving money on a car rental? I've heard of Turo, but never tried it. Okay, couple things. If you can get a car rental for $100 a day these days, you're doing pretty good. I mean, they've been up as high as $600 and $700 a day, and you're doing high season in July. However, you mentioned Turo. Turo can work, but there's one aspect of it you have to be aware of, and that's this. And that's about car rental insurance. How many of you go to rent a car and you're basically, pushed hard to get the insurance from the rental car company? Number one, you should know that every state attorney general has ruled the rental car companies are not in the insurance business. They can't sell insurance. So what are they actually selling you? A collision damage waiver or a liability waiver. And it's limited. Plus, if you already own a car, there's a 95% chance you're covered for rental car rentals in your own your own car automobile insurance policy. So check your policy, number one. Number two, and that, by the way, your car rental, your automobile insurance policy that you may already have because you own a car should in almost all cases cover you when renting a car from Hertz, Avis, National, Dollar, Budget, etc. But you mentioned Turo. Not every automobile policy will cover Turo yet. So double check. You do not want to drive around without insurance. Okay? That's helpful. Okay. Agent says, what's the best time to book tickets for October for a trip from LA to Nairobi, preferably in business class? Well, going from LA to Nairobi, there are no nonstop flights, as you can imagine. You're going to have to go through another city, most likely on the East Coast. Even flights from Chicago are not nonstop to Nairobi that I'm aware of. So you're going to end up taking two flights and almost inevitably on two separate airlines, which means what you really want to do is buy two separate round trip tickets. Let's say LA to New York round trip and New York to Nairobi round trip. Or you might even want to get really creative since you're not going till October and buy something called an RTW ticket. That stands for Round the World. One of the coolest things ever. They'll either give you 6 months to complete the trip or 12 months to complete the trip. You don't have to take 6 months, but you have up to 6 months or up to a year to complete it. And in many cases, the Round the World fare is either even with or less expensive than just trying to buy a point-to-point round trip ticket to East Africa. So check it out. There are a couple of companies out there that specialize in it because it's a complicated ticket. It allows you to go, as long as you're staying in the same direction, you can't double back, to a lot of different cities in that 6-month period. What a cool thing. Check it out, the RTW. Okay, there we go. I'm looking here. Oh, have I had a sit-down interview with DOT Secretary Buttigieg about the issues that the FAA and the airlines are having? That's from Harriet and Jim. No, but we're scheduling it, and I'll let you know when it happens. All right. I'm looking here. All right, let's go to the photo of the week. How about that? I love this one. Anybody want to tell me where it was taken? No? No. Okay. Well, there should be some clues here. It's not Africa. It's not the Middle East. It's Ireland. Molly's Cottage, by the way, in County Kerry, taken by Debbie Dalecki. Debbie, congratulations on doing this. Beautiful lighting, beautiful color, and in the interest of full disclosure, I always say that one of my metrics of favorite places is where I sleep the best, and one of the places I sleep the best is Ireland, always. Speaking of Ireland, March coming up, the week of St. Patrick's Day. That's the week of March 13th. Look for our next global television special, Hidden Ireland, on PBS, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV+. And while we're at it, you might want to take a look at our next global television special that premieres this month, starting February 22nd, Hidden Saudi Arabia. We have a little teaser for you right now.
Welcome to Al-Wakadi.
And when you first came here, what did you think?
I thought, fantastic. I've got the perfect resort. I'm going to make a ton of money on this island.
Slam dunk.
Slam dunk. But then we discovered that this island is a favored nesting site for the critically endangered hawksbill sea turtle.
Hawksbill sea turtles are an important part of coral ecosystems, but their numbers have declined 80% over the past century due to the loss of nesting areas and critical coral habitats.
At the end of the day, it was a very easy decision for us. We're not going to develop this island.
It stays the way it is.
It stays the way it is. We're going to
Turtles,
protect this.
but no condos.
Exactly.
The Red Sea Project has designated Al-Wakadi and 2 other islands as nature preserves, helping to ensure the natural integrity of this region, providing access to this hidden region of Saudi Arabia with truly guilt-free travel.
What you see there is one of 80 once undiscovered, once uncharted islands in the Red Sea, part of the Saudi Arabian Red Sea Project. That's John Pagano, who I was talking to there, who runs it. And they're starting to open these islands to the public very, very soon. And it's all part of our show, Hidden Saudi Arabia, premiering February 22nd. Check your local listings. Of course, you can also see it on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. And then don't forget Ireland, Hidden Ireland, coming the week of March 13th, also on PBS, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV Plus. Before I roll today, I want to share another story with you that's very important and introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Jeff Blumenfeld. Jeff is a fellow member of the Explorers Club, the legendary Explorers Club in New York. In fact, Jeff was the one who nominated me for membership. I will always be eternally grateful to him for that. And a fellow traveler. He's been all over the world, based in Colorado. Jeff just wrote me and asked me if I'd do a shout out for a very specific reason, and I'm happy to do it. Jeff has had kidney failure. He needs a new kidney. He's looking for donors. And Anthony is going to punch up a couple of websites to tell you the stories that have been written about Jeff. And if you know anybody who can help him on that list, I know he would be absolutely eternally grateful because he cannot stay on dialysis that much longer in good health. So again, shout out to Jeff Blumenfeld, who I will see in Denver when I'm speaking there on February 25th and 26th at the Denver Convention Center. And we wish him the best. And hopefully we'll have an answer for him soon because this is critical. Again, go get him, Jeff. And if anybody out there can help him, Anthony, would you please punch up the websites that people can see? I'll leave it up there for just a minute so you can get it down, everybody. Jeff's one of the greats and needs our help. Just going to leave it up there for a little bit longer so people can do it. And if you miss it today, you can always write me to peter@petergreenberg.com. Again, you can always write me to peter@petergreenberg.com with your questions or photo of the week. And of course, our radio show, Eye on Travel, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings. It also streams live, and it's available also as a podcast. I'll see everybody this weekend, if you're around, at the Washington Convention Center for the Travel and Adventure Show. I'm speaking both on Saturday and on Sunday, so you can check the listings for the times. I believe Saturday will be at noon, and Sunday will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, of course. And in the meantime, have a great first weekend in February, everybody. Travel safe, and be smart. I'll see you next week.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by itseasy.com passport and visa services.